Okay.
2 minutes.
My clock says 5:30.
Oh, we're looking at the clock. We got time.
All right, I'd like to call the closed session meeting to order and ask the city clerk to please take roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Munoz Schnapp,
Here.
Rollins,
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Here.
Mayor Berg. Absent for the record.
Thank you. And are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll recess into closed session. Oh, I need to ask the city attorney to please announce the closed session items.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. There are 2 closed session items tonight. The first is conference with labor negotiators, Authority Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency designated representatives are Rod Butler, City Manager, and Ken McDonald, Finance Director. The Employee Association is unrepresented management and professional employees. I guess that's not technically an association. But number 2 is public employee performance evaluation. Position is City Manager, and the authority is Government Code Section 54957, Sub B, Sub 1. And that's the only matters under closed session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. We'll now recess to closed session. It is 5:32.
Watch this one. Watch this one. Boom. Little curtain reveal there. Yep. Little cheap dance. I haven't presented in like 3 months, so that's why I had to cut down my slides. They're at 45. I'm lucky I found that.
is probably going to be exceptionally long because we have a lot of presentations. The last time I got home a little before 11. There's a lot of presentations tonight. I think we have 8 presentations.
Yeah, it was
And
long last meeting.
yeah, the last meeting was long, and there's not a lot of meat this one.
Right after
They do the inspiration, and then presentations are the very first thing. But our very first one will be, it's like the state of the region update, and then we have our park landscape one, and our strategic planning, and yeah.
that's much fun. So how close is
Oh, are you doing general public comment? Oh, you'll be before all of the presentations. Yeah. So you're good. You don't have to stay through all of them. Or I'll wake you up if you do have to. Yeah. And then he put you at the end, and I was like, no, he's awake now. Don't do that. Yeah, I can put it back. Nice. That's great. Thank you.
Did you get my email? Are you sore from working out or something?
From running yesterday at the Ventura Marathon. So I made the changes.
Oh, okay.
I actually made copies just in case everyone wanted to see what the changes were, but I added the language to the locations where it was just really 3 changes.
Okay.
And I changed the staff report as you asked.
I was reading it and I said, why aren't they changing the categories of what's listed in this felony? Why aren't they changing those non-violent categories? And then I went, so that prompted me to look at the act itself, and I go, it is there. So okay.
Yes. So, how do you want me to do that?
Why don't you just pass? We could just pass it out or give them to Christy. Do you have copies? Yeah. Just
I do. I made 10 copies.
Yeah, just give it to Christy. Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Agenda item 1. Oh, that's 11. I think it was sitting here earlier. But I had extra, so I don't, it seems to me somebody's missing a set.
Hello. Yeah.
Does the city of Hueneme need guidelines for
I don't think so. And if it's not, I'll find out. Because one of the people from behind the hideaways ask that very question. And I don't think they do
That's going to be
it.
my question.
Yeah.
I didn't want to ask it.
No, it's a learning. He asked me about that also.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and say that.
No, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Maybe we should. Huh? Oh, okay. Almost time. What I do?
Rich throwing money around again?
Oh, it's been a pen. My stick.
They gotta have shoes on, right?
See, he gave me a hard time. I'm just going to stick him with a pen.
Oh,
From like the artwork.
oh yeah.
These are for
good one.
public comment.
Good.
They're just open session. We'll do the chart before presentations.
Okay.
And then Steve Kinney wants to talk on public hearing, item number 11.
What is that?
That's the public hearing is on the cannabis dispensary.
Oh, okay. All right.
We got a lot of.
Good evening. Let's call this meeting to order. It is 6:31, and let's begin with the flag salute. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I believe the inspiration is coming from Councilman Rollins this evening.
Yes. Maybe I should stand up here.
If you'd like.
I would. So my inspiration today is both personal and it affects the community. Volunteerism has made Fort Hueneme truly a friendly city by the sea. In our small community with limited resources, it is vital that we encourage volunteerism from all of you. Oftentimes, we know, and deservingly so, recognize those of high profile or outgoing that volunteer for the community in major ways. But there are many people, many volunteers behind the scenes that play a vital role to make our program or our facility run smoothly and adds the unique ambiance for our city. As many of you know, the Fort Hueneme Museum provides residents and tourists with glimpses into the unique history of our fine city. Under the guidance and encouragement of Larry Downey, our curator, the following two volunteers have provided hundreds of hours of volunteer service. And at this point, I'd like to call up those two volunteers that are behind the scenes but make the museum happen. Johnny Adamson, please come up. Penelope Braxton, please come up. So, first I'm going to talk about Penelope Braxton. She serves as a docent. She prepares homemade bakery goods. So anytime you go for a Saturday meeting where you listen to a speaker, she provides homemade lemon bars and stuff like that, all on her own. In addition, she oversees our community garden. She makes sure that it's kept up nicely. She makes sure that like our project garden is kept up with fully growing vegetables. She also teaches an origami class. Johnny Adamson. Johnny Adamson serves as a docent. He also, for every new person that comes into, he shows a film to give them an introduction about what Fort Hueneme is all about. Whenever a new naval ship comes into the port, he makes it a point to go out there. He has the contacts to go out there and to meet them and get a hat. And I've learned each naval ship has its own hat that he can bring back and then make it part of the museum. In addition to what he does, is we have a program right now for youth to come, second, third grade kids from Bard Elementary, Parkview, to come to our museum to see what it's all about, to learn a little bit about the history. And Johnny is an active and involved in helping that presentation. So at this time, I would like to present to both of you a recognition from our city. And it basically says, Penelope Braxton, or Johnny Adamson, in recognition of your volunteer service to our community, your dedication at the Port Hueneme Historical Museum is an inspiration to us all. And here's the final note. Not only does volunteerism help the community, but actually when you volunteer, they've done scientific studies, it actually makes you live longer. So think about that the next time a volunteer opportunity comes about. If you volunteer, you get involved in the community, you're going to live a longer life.
Thank you, Councilman Rollins, and thank you, Johnny and Penelope, for everything you do for our community and for the museum. Thank you. All right, at this point, I'd like to ask our Madam Clerk to take the roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Munoz Schnapp,
Here.
Rollins,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Here.
Mayor Berg. Mayor Berg is absent for the record.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the City Council agenda, I'd like to entertain a motion for approving our agenda tonight.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. City Attorney, will you report out on the closed session?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. There are no reportable actions from tonight's closed session.
All right, thank you very much. This brings us to our public comment. I have 3 sheets, 3 cards. I'll call those in order of receipt. The first one is Larry Downing from the museum. What say you, Larry?
City Manager Rod Butler, City Attorney Charlie Green, City Clerk Christie, Mayor Pro Tem Laura Hernandez, Councilwoman Sylvia Nunez Schnapp, Councilman Stephen Gama, and Councilman Rich Rallis. I'm here today to tell you what's going to be happening at the museum for the next few weeks. This Saturday, we're going to have Gary Johnson talk on the many roles of duct tape in a disaster. And we're also going to be giving people rolls of duct tape and a to-go bag. So this is disaster preparedness, and we're trying to do a couple of these a year. And that'll be at 11 o'clock. And the following Saturday, which is November 2nd, we're going to have Dr. Mark Fleischman, a retired professor from Syracuse University, and he's going to talk on human variables. And then on, which will be really interesting, this guy's funny. November 9th, we'll have Mayor Will Berg, who will be presenting Fun with Chinese Characters, is what he's going to be doing. Thank you. And then on November 11th, where Veterans Day will be at 8:30 in the morning. That'll be the start time. And Mayor Will's on the program. Julie Bromley's going to be there, probably Kelly Long. And I have one of the World War II veterans, Stokes, who Stephen knows. He's the oldest working fella from Oxnard School District?
He was the longest-serving school board member at Oxnard Union High School District, and I was surprised to learn that he also was a Oxnard Harbor Commissioner for a couple years.
Yeah. So he's going to be talking on World War II, and then we have one of the Navy officers who was part of the Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also going to be on the program. So that should be very interesting, and we're going to have the Hueneme High School Band, which will
great.
play between 8 and 8:30, okay?
Nice.
So, that'll be the preamble before it really gets started. And thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Larry.
supporting. And thank you, Rich. That was very kind of you to recognize personality Johnny and Penelope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, the next speaker is Tracy Sisson Phillips from our Hueneme Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, City Council, City Manager, City Attorney, and City Clerk. Tracy Sisson Phillips with the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce, here to just tell a little about what's going on at the Chamber. Last week we had two key events. We had our annual State of the Port address delivered by Commissioner Jess Herrera, and then we also helped Paradise Chevrolet celebrate their 40th anniversary of business in Ventura County. They held a mega mixer with the Oxnard, Ventura, Camarillo, and Santa Paula Chamber of Commerce. It was a very well-attended event, and we were certainly pleased to help recognize an icon in our community. Looking forward on the calendar, next Tuesday the 29th, we have our next Check Out the Chamber mixer at the Ventura County Credit Union, starting at 5:30 p.m. On November 19th, which is a Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month, we'll have our next Wake Up Hueneme Network Breakfast. Saturday after Thanksgiving will be Small Business Saturday. We're looking to host a small home-based and small business fair over at the corner of Wheelhouse and Channel Islands Boulevard. And on Thursday, December 5th, will be the 7th annual Holly Day tree lighting. We do hope you will all be in attendance there. March 20 of 2020, we will celebrate the Chamber's 80th anniversary and present our community award, so please save that date and be looking for our nomination forms for Citizen and Business Person of the Year coming to your inbox soon. And that's Councilmember Gama.
I was trying to enter the dates on my phone, but couldn't get my phone to power up, so do you have a note with those different dates?
I'm sure I can accommodate getting you those dates. Aren't you on our mailing list, Councilmember Gama?
Yes.
Okay.
I will check my email.
But yes, I can certainly send those to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for the heads up on that March 20th event. Okay, our next speaker is, let's see, this is on Airbnb guidelines. It doesn't have a name on here. Do you see one? Have somebody who wants to speak about Airbnb guidelines? Okay, I didn't see your name here on the sheet. So you might want to just state your name and I'll write it down here for you.
My name's Linda Kaplan. I serve on the board at Anacapa View Beach Homes. I'm here tonight requesting of the City Council to consider providing guidelines for Airbnb in our area. Because of the recent ruling from the Coastal Commission, it's making it difficult for us to know which direction to take. We've been advised that if the city could set the guidelines, that we could follow those guidelines, but we ourselves cannot make guidelines. Our current provision in our CC&Rs is now invalid because of the court ruling. So I am requesting that the City Council come up with some guidelines for all the HOAs here along the water. We're hoping that it'll be of the most restrictive nature. I thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I noticed our city manager taking notes there, so I'm sure there'll be some follow-up later on. Okay. We're going to now move into our section on presentations, and the first presentation is item number 1, 2019 State of the Region Report by the Ventura County Civic Alliance, and David Marin is here to report on that. Hi, David.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, members of the council, staff, and the audience. I'm David Marin with the Ventura County Civic Alliance. I assume this is my toy? Okay. The Ventura County Civic Alliance, for those who don't know, is a regional organization, all volunteers, nonpartisan, independent 501c3, and what we do is look at issues in Ventura County around regional issues, but from a perspective of the economy, social equity, and the environment. So we try to preserve the quality of life, see that that continues here in Ventura County for the future. This report was prepared with the support of various organizations like the Ventura County Community Foundation, Ventura County Community College District, businesses like ERA, AT&T, the 2 universities, Channel Island and California Lutheran, also the County of Ventura, Haas Automation, Limonera, and Montecito Bank as our largest sponsors, because it is a huge effort to put together a book like this every 2 years and distribute it to the community. I know this chart is a little hard, very hard for anybody to see, but the key takeaway, and you can read through the book at your leisure, you don't have to go start to finish, you can jump around, but one of the things we see in here is Ventura County is getting older. In 2008, we were average age of about 34.2. 2017, it's climbed up to 37. So that has huge implications when you start to look at the numbers. Also, Port Hueneme is one of the younger cities. We show the population that is less than 18. I think only 3 other cities in Ventura County are younger than you, and you're one of the few that doesn't have a very large population over 65. So positive for you. Agriculture, strawberries continue to be the very #1 crop in Ventura County, 650 million. Agriculture is a $2 billion industry in Ventura County, representing about 5% of the local economy. You're all elected, so I like to point out where we are with registration. Ventura County has stayed pretty flat as far as Democratic registration. That's the one in blue up there. The green is no party preference, and that has declined significantly, or has increased significantly.
Yeah.
And it has come at the cost of the Republican registration in the county. And this breaks it down by cities. Port Hueneme is 49% Democrat. You can look at the other cities at your leisure. In the economy, so good news, but not that great of news. So back in 2007, we were just under 300,000 as far as number of workers. And although the unemployment rate today is historically fabulous, we're just barely back to where we were 10 years ago, in a sense. So we're not creating enough jobs in Ventura County. And even worse, the jobs that we are creating are in very low-paying industries on average. So those are things like hospitality and leisure. So it's a nice entry-level job, gets you into the workforce, but we used to have a huge number of jobs in manufacturing before the recession, and that has declined dramatically, and those jobs usually pay over $90,000, $95,000 a year. Construction is below pre-recession levels. We've grown in areas like education and health services, that's positive, but the balance, and I know you can't just magically go create jobs, but we want to try and support those industries that are creating well-paying jobs, because that's what it costs to live here. This chart shows the average, the county, gross county product. The green one is the inflation-adjusted number, and what's important to look at here is we've basically been flat. The state of California, the nation, has been going gangbusters, but Ventura County has remained pretty much flat since 2012. So that could have huge implications if we go into another recession. Education, I know this is not your area of responsibility, but I like to point out to all the city councils that the blue line here is K through 8th grades, and the number of students has peaked about 2014, and it's been declining, and the projection is to continue to decline. The green is K through 12, 9 through 12, and you can see how that'll follow the 8th graders as they move into high school. So that's going to have serious implications as far as not enough students, not enough workers, and it's chicken and egg, right? Do we have the workers that the large businesses want in our community when they think about relocating here? I thought I'd show you your 2 school districts. So Hueneme Elementary has done well. preserving or staying steady. Districts like Simi Valley, Conejo Valley have seen huge declines. They're going to have to look at school closures at some point, loss of jobs. Oxnard Union High, of course, continues to grow. Earlier I mentioned that Port Hueneme is one of the youngest cities. You can see the correlation here. The younger city, more students. Older cities like Simi Valley, Conejo, they're losing, they're going to lose student enrollment. So Ventura County is a very tough place to live if you're starting out. This chart shows what the average two-bedroom apartment goes for in Ventura County. In 2018, that was just under $2,100. That used to be a mortgage. But today, a two-bedroom apartment average in Ventura County is $2,100. The reason you can see is that green bar is occupancy. And we just have a very little vacancy, 2.37% vacancy rate here in Ventura County. Down below, we break it out by cities. So Port Hueneme is in the Oxnard district. We call that 1787. So what happens is you graduate, let's say, Cal State Channel Islands, you get a starting job in a hospitality, maybe Embassy Suites, some hotel. I guess it hasn't been called Embassy Suites for a while. But anyway, the only place you can live is Fillmore or Santa Paula, where the rents are lower. And so now you're on the road longer every day, more congestion, you're away from your family. So there's a lot of challenges to be able to survive here in Ventura County. This shows median price. You can look at that. We have Port Hueneme, one of the lowest, least costly cities to buy a home in Ventura County. There was only 15 sales for this data, so that could very well be dependent on the number of sales. Maybe it's higher now. But that was from February 2019. Ventura County, I mean, we like to, Ventura County, our natural and environmental resources, if you saw the sunset today, you know this is a fabulous place to live. People want to live in Ventura County. We have great air quality, great water quality. The amount of solar capacity is increasing. We have people who are promoting recycling, a lot of good things. This chart here shows the average water use in Ventura County. Since Port Hueneme is doing so well, the average person uses 57 gallons of water per day. This does not include agriculture, but you can see places like Westlake Village, Camarillo, Thousand Oaks, much higher. And that makes sense because they're warmer communities, larger yards, more watering of their yards. But good news. One of the things we've added to the report this year is some statistics from 11th graders. The State of California Education Department every year gives this survey to 11th graders to fill out. There's a whole number of questions. These are listed in the book, and in the back of our book we have sources of all of these charts. So anyone who's interested could always go and drill down deeper. And for the audience, this is available online from the Civic Alliance's website, civicalliance.org. So this is cigarette vaping use. And you can see that the cities like Conejo Valley, or the school districts, Conejo Valley, Ventura Unified, Simi Valley, those have had increases in vaping. Oxnard Union High has declined, and it's only listing Unified, so we don't have elementary like Hueneme there. But one thing you can see is that the wealthier districts are having a bigger problem with vaping because it is expensive. You can't really see this, but we have a lot of students who are concerned about, they have chronic sadness, being sad, and then even over 10–15% in some districts who have seriously contemplated suicide in the last year. And this is a county-wide issue. It's affecting everyone, but this is the opioid deaths per 100,000 residents. This is county-wide. The data is available citywide, I think, on the state's website. But you can see Ventura County in green has shot up here to 85 deaths in 2017. About 1.5 people per week are dying from opioids. And opioids are prescription and non-prescription. It could be the abuse of Oxycontin or Percocet. It could be fentanyl. Public safety, Ventura County is one of the safest counties in California. This lists the top 15 counties by size. Ventura County is the second safest, and we've been that way for many, many years. By city, this shows Moore Park is the safest. Ojai had the lowest violent crime rate. Blue is property crime. Red is violent crime. Port Hueneme is down here towards the larger cities of Oxnard and Ventura, but still a very safe city. Social services, homelessness is creeping up. You're all aware of that. Veterans are listed in our chart. We also break it down by city. Port Hueneme is very small, 30 I think is the count there, but a slight increase. But you can see some of the other cities as well. We continue to have a lot of people who are driving to work by themselves, so carpooling hasn't really caught off. Buses, some, but this chart is very similar to what it was a couple of years ago. And I'll wrap up with this chart from fire losses from Thomas Fire. There's quite a few indicators in the book as far as the Thomas Fire and Woolsey Fire, but $1.4 billion of damage to Ventura County from Woolsey Fire. So with that, I thank you very much for your time. I know you have a full agenda, and I thank the other presenters who are coming after me for being so patient.
Thank you so much, David.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, David, for presenting this a great synopsis of the beautiful work you do over at the Civic Alliance, and this report is really wonderful. When you look at the crop changes, page 11, even if you drive down Hueneme Road towards Camarillo, you'll pass some of those cannabis locations.
Yes.
How does that calculate in here? It's not it's crop, but it's not.
Well, we expect in the next report we do in 2 years that one of the top 10 crops will be hemp, possibly as much as $100 million is the current belief. Now, things could change. Farmers could find out that they can't really sell it as easily as they thought they could. But when this report was pulled together with 2017 data, hemp was not really that large of a crop yet.
Okay, so we'll see it in the future.
I expect so,
Okay,
yes.
great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Gama.
Is Haas Manufacturing the biggest manufacturer in Ventura County?
I don't know that for certain, but I think Amgen still has a large number of employees, certainly on this side of the grade. Yeah, I don't want to stick my neck out on that one, but they are certainly a great employer in the sense of high-paying salaries and a very high-tech company, so people that go to work there need to have a strong education.
And perhaps, just if I could make a suggestion for your future report, if you could begin to track teenage auto deaths. It's the #1 killer of teenagers. It's something I've been trying to address for years and years and years, and we haven't been able to remove it from the #1 killer of teenagers, and it's something that I think needs attention.
We did add this year traffic fatalities and traffic collisions. That's new data, but it's not broken out by age range. But it does give you a historical trend about how many fatalities we see on the roads. So,
Right, and I think this year opiate deaths nationwide have surpassed auto traffic deaths. I think
wouldn't
so.
be surprised. Yeah, I'm not sure. It probably depends on the state, actually. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
You may have mentioned it. You notice that we don't have as many high-paying jobs as we need to, but the rent is one of the highest, or very, very high. How can that be if the rent's high and there's nobody to rent it?
Right. So it is a struggle. I believe that more people are doubling up. So you get a roommate, 2 or 3 people. We see that maybe causing some homelessness. People go to the farther away cities like Fillmore and Santa Paula, where rent is a lot cheaper. But yeah, if you can get a job at Haas, you're set in some ways. And the port is certainly a high-paying employer, but we just need our employers, our city managers, our councils to really try and recruit those high-paying jobs to Ventura County, the pharmaceutical companies, manufacturing, logistics, some of those. Thank you. And again, it's available on the website, civicalliance.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, David. This is a kind of report that I would love to sit down and spend hours digesting and asking the question, why is that so? But your brevity was much appreciated. All right. The next item on our agenda is the Alaska Airlines Flight 261 20th Anniversary Memorial Presentation, and we have former Chief of Police Steve Campbell here to present, and Anirudh Prasad. Good to see you both. Welcome. I understand you just flew in today,
Yes.
this afternoon.
I guess is the line is our arms tired now or something? Anyways, my name is Anirudh Prasad, and thank you for allowing us to join you with your community and to remember our loved ones for the 20th anniversary for Alaska Flight 261. For many of us, this is where we want to be on the 31st. We call it our second home. I lost my youngest brother and 2 cousins on that Alaska Airlines flight, so 3 family members, and I've been coming here since January 31st. Well, first day was February 1st, 2000, of course. That's when we flew here I actually grew up in LA, in Bell Gardens, California. So I've been from South. I grew up here a little bit, but the support that we got from this community the day of the event, the incident, was just amazing. Chief of Police, Steve Campbell, I had a few words with him, and now we're good buddies. I didn't get arrested, but he has been one of the folks that been with us from the beginning, from day one, pretty much, I would say. And now he's been always helping us, trying to make sure we, especially support me for what we do every year. I've been coming down, like I said, for every year on the 31st. So this year we'll be we'll be honoring the initial responders, inclusive of the first responders and to respond to the scene on January 31st. We'll be taking at least one boat out to the accident site on the 30th. And this memorial, actually, for the 20th, it's going to be more inclusive of the parties, because on Alaska Flight 221, we will have Chief Executive Officer Brad Tilden from Alaska Airlines will be joining us. And together we will address how we have worked together to make commercial air flight safer for everybody. And we'll also have representatives of national, the NTSB basically, and the Federal Aviation Agency, and key executives of Alaska who worked with us for hours of the incident and everything. We anticipate about 300 people in attendance on 31st. So it's going to be quite a lot of people. I think last time we had that many was probably on the 3rd anniversary when we dedicate the monument. And so it's going to be a significant amount of people, visitors, boat trips, and visits to the cemetery in the Westlake Village area. We encourage participation by our partners of government agencies, and thank the city of Port Hueneme and all the communities in Ventura County for their assistance, commitment to our remembrance and compassion. We are pleased to join with the Hueneme High School choir and ROTC in our memorial, and look forward to helping our Hueneme High School choir work with Channel Island campus of Cal State University in providing music for that 20th anniversary. So we're going to be providing resources for them to get travel to Cal State campus of down here and practice with on campus. So it's going to be really fun for the kids that always come out, and looking forward to that. Our hotel, Holiday Inn Express, that's also like a second home for us too. We've been coming down there from the beginning. And they go out of the way basically to help the family members, and over the several days period we're here. Lastly, we want to say thank you to our our personal friend and supporter from the Port Hueneme City Councils and Ventura County Board of Supervisors, past and present. And we also want to recognize current Mayor Pro Temp, Laura Hernandez. Laura was involved from hour one, I should say. So I mean, it's amazing that to see you here, and I think it's going to be really amazing for you to be at our 20th anniversary as the mayor. Thank you for that. And like I said, everybody is invited, the whole community, and it's crazy that 20 years have passed. I can't believe it. I didn't have any kids. I wasn't married. Now didn't have gray either. But now it's been 20 years, and a lot of folks. I mean, they had their kids on the flight, so they have passed on and everything. But this 20th anniversary, it's going to be a one to remember for a lot of families, because it's getting hard for some of the parents to show up to the anniversaries. I'll be here every year until I'm not. So, but we appreciate all the support you guys given us, and also I actually have some keychains I brought that I'll be giving out at the anniversary. but I wanted to give that to you guys. Is that okay to give you guys
Oh,
right now?
ab-
Okay.
Yeah, you can give them to our clerk over here.
And thank you for letting Steve Campbell be part of our community and helping. We've adopted him by the family because he's, without Chief of Police Steve Campbell, or ex-Chief of Police Steve Campbell, I mean, I'm not sure where we would be, because he's helped us a great deal. So I just wanted to make sure that was said. So.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Did you have something you also wanted to share, Steve?
Just thank you very much.
Okay.
I think Anna Ruud said it all, with just one exception. Thank you to this council, Steve, and I'm sorry, Council Member Gama, for all you've done as a volunteer. What I heard this evening in terms of volunteerism and how critical it is. This community really is at the forefront of that, and you've helped on a regular basis with this memorial. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, and that's tough for me to say, it's Laura. Thank you. Council Member Sylvia, you've been there since day one as well.
Yes, she has, yeah.
Since day one. In that
That's
first
when I
few-
met you.
First
yeah,
few hours.
That night.
Yeah. So we've done an awful lot, but this community means an awful lot to these families. It's where they want to be. This is it. Rod, the city manager, has been right on the spot with this thing. And the 3 years that we've gotten to know Rod as the city manager, he has been there for us. And thank you. We hope you come on January 31st. Anyhow, that's where we are. Lots of planning, and Laura is working hard with us. And we've been able to work with the chief. And I think it's going to be a ceremony that you'll be proud of. And the families will find a lot of love right here in this community. So thank you. We'll stay in touch, and we'll be back.
Well, thank you for
Before
making the trip down and making the presentation. This is a good time for us to start inviting members of our community to be
Great.
there on the 31st and offer comfort and love and support to the families. I always look forward to seeing them. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't seem like it gets easier every year. It just seems all the emotions wrapped up in that event just come flooding back, and it's a very, very special time for everybody.
I think this event will put Hueneme on the map again, from the standpoint of what you see from the press coming down to hear some of the presentations that are going to be made, and to put Hueneme in the spotlight of this is the caring community that these families want to be a part of. And so it's going to put a good shine right here, and for a very good community.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And, we met and we were all geared up to provide you logistical support for the event, but you guys come so self-contained and you've got everything organized, so I feel we're doing very little to support you, but I know that you're working with the chief and you're working with our city manager, so.
We are, and yes, thank you. And we've got some other support, the resources that are helping us this year.
Terrific.
And so we're going to share those. And to have the high school involved.
Oh, that is
See,
awesome.
this is great. I mean, this
Yeah.
is what it's about for our kids at the leadership over there. So, thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is the Hueneme Bay Association donation to our police explorers. Do we have somebody here from Hueneme Bay? Hello.
Good evening. City Attorney, Mayor Butler, City Manager Butler, Pro Tem Hernandez, City Councilman. Yes, Hueneme Bay. The Carefree Living Association is the homeowners association of Hueneme Bay, which is, as you know, a 55 and older community. And for the last 25 years or more, there has been a first responders recognition award. It first started, like I said, 25 years ago with the Kiwanis, I understand, and about 15 years ago, the Carefree Living Association took over that responsibility. This year, unfortunately, we did not host one, but as a result of that, we had some newfound money that did not get spent in our association. So what we would like to do is we'd like to give this to your Explorer program, your Police Explorer program, if we may. And if I could have a representative from your police department, I would like to very much sort of have that happen.
Okay. You guys want to come on up?
I don't think we need an introduction, but on behalf of the Carefree Living Association of Hueneme Bay, we'd like to present you with this check of $1,720 and change for your Police Explorer program. It's my understanding you're in dire need, and we'd like to help out as much as we can. So,
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope that you can get a photo together, since it's not often you get a giant check, literally.
I can take a photo right here.
well, thank you.
Get all together.
How about Hueneme Bay? Anybody else from Hueneme Bay want to join them? Okay.
Oh, there you go. Excellent.
About the taller folks in the back? Perfect.
Oh, Kitty's here too, yep.
I just want to make mention of the man who has put together this committee for the last 8 years, and it was because of his diligence and his commitment to this project that we were able to come up with so much money last year. And I want to introduce Tom Larkin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, tighten up.
Bonnie, you want to like scoot in a little bit more?
Explorers in blue, get your shoulders together. Look up here and smile. Oh, that's good.
There you go.
All people in the back, split the difference.
Very good.
Everyone look at me. Oh, wait, after. Okay. Look at me, smile, cheese. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A worthy cause. Thank you. And thank you to our explorers. You guys are everywhere.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
You know, and I recall going to the Hueneme Bay for the association and the recognition that you gave all the first responders for many, many years. Tom, thank you so much. That was noticeable. You know, it wasn't just an award. You really treated the whole families for recognizing the individuals, and that was a really special event. So thank you so much.
We can do for the services that the city does provide, as well as the fire departments and the group members. This year we brought it to you rather than you coming to receive it. And the work that the explorers do is exceptional. I don't think anybody knows exactly to what extent that they do to assist. So they are supportive of first responders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we will not having the program this year. It'll pick up again next year. I guarantee that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for the recognition.
Yeah.
Thank you, explorers.
Thank you, and congratulations to our explorers. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is item 4, and that's Coastal Cleanup Day presentation. And this will be delivered by myself and Councilman Gama, who's both he and I were co-captain of the annual September 21st Coastal Cleanup. This was our 4th year that we implemented the cleanup day. And I'd like to turn it over to Councilman Gama just for comments before we show you a thank you clip of, a video, just kind of thanking everybody for their participation.
So we took it to a new level this year. We had Public Works assist us by placing dumpsters down the beach out in front of, into Oxnard, out in front of the areas where the homeless encampments were. And this is significant because if we didn't have that, then our volunteers would have to lug heavy bags of trash or buckets, because we get, and it's very hot and it's very draining. So as a result, we filled up 3 dumpsters, and we estimated that to be about 4,000 pounds of trash. And it was a bunch of little stuff, because remember, the big stuff had already been removed by tractors and a concerted effort to evacuate the homeless encampment. So we had, what, nearly 400 or over 400
We had over
volunteers?
400. One of the issues is we had was not everybody was able to fill out an application or waiver because we ran out of them. So we could have had maybe close to 500, but the numbers that I counted were approximately 400.
And then on top of that, the port operated a site, and as did some other groups. The Navy groups were out as well. So it was funny when you look down the beach from like the power plant, look towards the lighthouse. All you saw was a massive amount of people all the way down the beach, all the way to the lighthouse. So it was a big effort, and it was super fun and hot. And we drank through a lot of water and 500 tacos, I think. They didn't have anything left when we were done. So I want to thank the chief too. He helped us tremendously. We had the explorers were out there helping, but it was a big community effort, and we're all grateful.
We're all grateful, and we'll do it again next year. So with that, can we play the thank you clip, the thank you video? I keep saying it's a clip. It's short, it's 3 minutes. Enjoy. This was also done by a volunteer of our community. The numbers would be much higher, but it was really hard to count all those items. We had to guess on some of them. You see all the people lined up for food. Thank you, Chief Salinas, again for that. Arranging the food services. Is it? Oh. Okay. I don't have kids, so I didn't catch that.
Yellow jackets.
I love the real guppy thing. Okay, well, thank you very much,
Very
all of
nice.
those who helped with our coastal cleanup this year. Thank you. Okay, can we have lights, please? Our next item is the City Parks Maintenance Improvement Projects Update, Recreation Programming Update by Anna Hanley, Recreation Parks Program Manager. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and staff, I'm here this evening to give you a presentation on the City Parks Maintenance Improvement Projects update. One of the things I wanted to discuss with everyone was the reorganization strategy. So as you're all aware, the Facility Maintenance Division was transitioned from the Housing Department from Public Works. And through that process, areas of responsibility were divided, and it was recognized that the true ownership of the overall direction involving long-term projects and use did not reside with either one of those departments. One of the reasons that this came to light was all of the staffing transitions that we've had in the past 2.5 years. And so this is the reason I'm explaining that the Community Services and Recreation Division will be taking over budgetary oversight of the parks maintenance projects. Quite frankly, the Recreation Division handles the public inquiries as far as the park use. We get referrals from organizations, residents, as to what's happening in the parks within the city. So it's already that central point of contact for the community as far as the parks are concerned. Events and programming, each of these highlight the park facilities themselves. So because we are most in tune with how these spaces are being used by the community at large, Community Services and Recreation can best aid in future development regarding ongoing maintenance. And again, that's why we're taking over budgetary oversight of these park projects. Through this transition, there was a budget gap that was identified. So at the mid-year budget review, I will be coming back to all of you to address this and bring forth operational line items that currently they're not represented within the budget. So we need to account for play equipment repairs, surface material replacement, signage, some basic fundamental things as far as the operation of the parks are concerned that currently do not exist within the city budget. So what I thought I'd do tonight is just provide a very high-level overview of some of the capital improvement project material that we've been working on of late. These decision packets will formally come before you on the November 4th meeting. However, I'm going to include them in this presentation so that you're aware we are actively addressing these issues. So as far as the beach park is concerned, here we've pictured the volleyball courts. In those decision packets that I just mentioned, you'll be given the options on how to outfit these amenities. And what I've included is regulation grade equipment. And so the decision really will come down to, is it quantity versus quality? So those are the choices that you'll have before you, again, during the CIP budget process. The barbecue pit replacement, we'll be recommending that the current metal structures are replaced with a cast concrete model, which would definitely extend the life of the product and would be much safer. Another item that will come before you is the replacement of the roof of the lifeguard and public restroom building. There was also a proposal for security camera systems, so that will also be included as a recommended project for capital improvement. Programmatically speaking, sort of an exciting thing that's in the works as far as the beach is concerned is, and I believe you're all familiar with this project, but it's our museum curator, Larry Downing, is working diligently on organizing the moving wall, the Vietnam Memorial Wall, coming to the city in May of 2021. So this project is actually expanded to include probably several days of events, all centered around the Memorial Day weekend, which would include Huey helicopters brought on site for public viewing, possibly even the USS Sumwalt destroyer, a military flyover, we're exploring all avenues as far as how we can make this a 3-day event centric, beach centric, excuse me. As far as Miranda Park is concerned, one of the major CIP projects that will be coming before you this year would be the field renovation. I know there's been a lot of discussion as far as the condition of the field, that large space you can see right here between the two softball fields. And I'll mention this a little bit later in the presentation as well, but this may be a great opportunity to reconsider the best use of that space in this park facility. We have some mechanisms in place that'll be forthcoming to address that, but I just kind of want to hint to that at this point. Also, the building, the tennis center, if you will, within the park itself, we have to have that structurally assessed by an engineer. We have a split beam issue. And so that would be one of the things we would need to do before moving forward. And the goal here is to staff that building. So before,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is to staff that building, excuse me. So we're looking to populate the building with staff so we can have a daily presence within the park.
Can you show me where on the
Sure,
picture
so it's a
photo
little,
located?
oh, excuse me,
know
difficult to
that
see. It's hidden by trees, but it's
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
Okay, I see
Yeah.
it there.
It would be just east of the, northeast of the second set of
Okay.
tennis courts. Also included as a CIP project would be the building remodel itself. So this would include bringing the building up to ADA compliance standards, outfitting it with network and phone connections, furniture for the community space, window replacement, so on and so forth. So again, these are all things that we've had to work on obtaining quotes for, dealing with vendors in order to prepare a thorough package for your review on November 4th. You've already received a presentation from the Public Works Director regarding the security camera system, so they're diligently working on completion of that. I believe the funding's already approved, but I did also want to note it in this presentation as something that will be completed as a park project in the future. Okay, so Bubbling Springs Park. And I'll just mention this picture we have here with the soccer fields. So every single day, this park, it's interesting because of its shape, but the entire length of the entire park is set up with makeshift soccer fields. So we have numerous teams on a daily basis that use and populate this park to hold soccer practice. And it's team after team after team, all the way up to the Port Hueneme Little League facilities. We also have on a regular basis football teams that host their practices here. So that is one reason why I want to maybe consider Miranda Park. Possibly we entertain an idea, and this would happen through the park's master plan update, but is a softball field still the current and best use of that open space, or are we able to possibly provide a facility that would have ongoing engagement on a regular basis and populate that park with the means for these youth to operate and hold either soccer or football facilities? Mm-hmm. So it's just something to consider. These are the things we're exploring and working towards. But it's definitely an interesting use of the Bubbling Springs Park land that really isn't formalized at this point. In the other picture, you can see that we have, this is the inside of the second story building that is used at the major fields of the Port Hueneme Little League facility. We lease that facility to them annually. And that window that is shown is propped up by that, basically that 2x4 post. It's one elongated section of wood. So it's probably a 10-foot long window, if you will, that's propped up. So as far as we're concerned, this is an inadequate state for the building to be in if we're going to regularly lease this on an ongoing basis as a revenue stream. So included in the CIP will be the recommendation to re-outfit this window for the scorekeeper's view.
Is
And
there glass there, or is it just?
there is no glass.
I have one question.
Sure.
On the picture, Bubbling Springs Park, where the kids are playing soccer, when we were having the youth involvement fair, I noticed that there was no sidewalk there. And I was wondering if that, putting it in the sidewalk, if that's a part of consideration or something to think about. Because I noticed a lady pushing a stroller down the middle of the street because she couldn't, so just thought I'd mention that.
I'll definitely make a note of that. Next, I have the community center. So the first item is the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Master Plan update. A firm has been selected, and again, this will have to do with the formal adoption of the CIP budget, but this was last performed in 2002. And so the best way to explore the evolution of the park system with community input would be the master plan. And so the dollars for that will need to be approved in the CIP budget process, but I wanted to mention that under the community center. Also, we'll be including the recommendation for Wi-Fi. I think we all have recognized that there's a need to have that building outfitted with it. Lobby lighting, it seems really basic, and it's actually going to be a very low dollar amount, but maximizing the use of each and every space within that center is critical, and we have had to remove activities from the lobby because of poor lighting. And so it's of a safety concern, and also we just want to better use the space in general, so that's one thing we're looking to do and improve. Lobby furniture is also included. And I did want to mention there are other projects that you'll also see coming forward concerning parks, but they will be represented under the Facilities Maintenance Division. So for instance, specific to the community center, we have an HVAC replacement proposal. The roof needs repair. We have some very severe ongoing leak issues there, and fumigation. We actually have already gone to the county library system and asked them to partner in the fumigation costs, which we have their participation agreement in to come to the table with half of the cost for that. So that would be a shared expense. But those, again, will be represented under a different division. And that reminds me, I didn't mention this, but also the tennis complex lighting would also be represented under the Facilities Maintenance Division when they bring forward the capital improvement projects.
And then I had a question about ADA compliance.
Sure.
Is the community center fully ADA, or is there some work to be?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay, so are there plans to bring
So-
it into compliance?
As we're exploring the needs assessment that's taking place at the community center, which is a separate project I haven't mentioned on this document, we have ADA is one of the first and foremost issues that would be addressed. And once any construction begins, that would have to be brought up to code. So any changes to the community center would include ADA compliance.
Okay. Thank you.
And isn't that, when we talk about ADA, isn't that part of a whole, master plan of ADA, I believe, that we've been working with CJPIA on?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
For all our facilities?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's all I had. If you have any
Any questions for Ms. Hanley?
I don't know if it's time to make suggestions to add on to it or what, but anyway, I'll continue. Miranda Park, obviously we have a limited amount of money, and probably we have a lot of desires and needs throughout the community, but I kind of listed some of them to kind of piggyback on yours. One of the concerns of the community has been the inappropriate activities going on at Miranda Park, things that happen that really shouldn't be happening there. And it's been shown that if a park is active, there's less chance for those types of things to be happening. And I know for many, many years that park was lighted. The sport field, whether it be a soccer or a combination of soccer and softball, was always lit. The tennis courts were lit. Most of the people who work, they work 8 to 5, and if they're going to benefit from those facilities, or if they're going to coach their kids, have to do it after work when there's no lights there. And so when there's no lights there, bad things can happen. So I would hope that perhaps, you take that into account in your CIP proposal. Another area that I didn't see mentioned would be Boker Park. I'm not sure if there's any plans to do something at Boker Park to improve it. I guess finally, the museum itself, which we had earlier, those of Mr. Gama and I who volunteer at that, there's a number of things, be it the paint facility hasn't been painted for a long time. There's a lot of earthquake problems regarding things that are up there that in case we had an earthquake would all fall upon us. So I would hope that you would consider those things in your presentation. And this may be a pie in the sky, but I got a lot of community members that presented it to me as far as the beach itself about putting some kind of a playground facility for youth on the beach, perhaps near where they have the restaurant and stuff, because I've had a lot of people say, well, there's no place for our kids per se, the beach obviously, but so all of these are going to cost a lot of money, and we probably don't, despite all the increased income, we don't have all that money coming in unless we get it from various different sources. But I'd like to at least have that on the agenda so that the council can begin to make decisions as to where the priorities may be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Councilman Gama?
Speaking of volunteering, Mr. Rollins and I would like to volunteer ourselves to go visit other beach communities and take pictures of what seems to look really good and work really well, whether it be barbecue pits, trash cans, sand management, because the beach is a park. Am I correct in that? Right? Mm-hmm. So that should be included in this plan as well. What type of volleyball setup do we want to have? If we just go down to Zuma and take a look at what they're doing, they have it appears to be somewhat reasonably inexpensive. It's a 8x8 piece of wood in the sand. So harking back to years ago, there was swing sets on both sides of the pier. There used to be a famous dragon out on the beach. And I think we should consider, or at least take a look at that, resurrect some of those things, because I can tell you, most every time you go by, the swing sets are being used. So I just wanted to suggest that we look to recreational activities on the beach, because there's a lot of desire for it.
Councilwoman Schnatz?
Yes, thank you, Anna, for this presentation. One of the things, as you talk about, would there be a better use of that space there, really, the soccer fields and all? Because it's been a number of years that we've actually had a group taking play soccer there, right? They moved on to another location. So I would think that if we're going to make an investment, that we make it so it's smart, so that there would be some way of possibly recouping some of the costs that we have for the use of that. So I don't know if there's club teams that are looking for places to practice on or to play their games, that kind of thing, that makes some sense of a real investment, because it sounds like that's what's going to cause us to perhaps maybe go this way, but to also have real activity there too, to prevent some other things from going on. So I would say to do that with that aspect of possibly recruiting folks to then use that space.
It's interesting because AYSO Region 4 uses the community center currently. They actually had a board meeting there tonight. And so they use our facility regularly to hold their registration for their teams. It's where they sell their candy. It's where they, you know, they don't have an address per se, and so they use the community center as their home base. They have their orientation for parents at the community center as well. So we already have that connection to an established entity, into where we can maybe be able to enter into those types of talks to say, is this something that you would want to be a part of? And what, you know, obviously there would be negotiation as far as fees are concerned, but
Yeah.
we may have a place to start.
Okay. Very nice, because when you drive over to Camarillo with their big sports complex and you see just the activity of all the soccer teams, and I know Camarillo recruits quite a bit of kids to play. You know, they start really young and they go up, and there are tons of fields. You know, so I know we don't have the space, but certainly if we can find a partner, that would be really neat to do. Thank you.
Agree.
Okay, any more questions?
I've seen a number of cities where the softball fields and soccer fields can be revenue generators, while the basic AYSO program keeps it a very low cost, so like they can't really absorb a lot of costs. There's a lot of club teams, adult club teams, things like that, that if you're a part of that, you pay, if you're a parent, you pay a lot of money for that. And I think we can kind of see the revenue coming in from that. I guess from my experience, you can actually make a field out there that would be a combination soccer field. I actually went out there and measured it. You can make a full-size soccer field, and you can have the backstops there for people who want to play softball, and it would be a very multi-use program. Finally, I guess, and it was something else that some of the community has brought up, we've had some concerns in the past as far as people that perhaps are selling things that they shouldn't be selling at the park. And one of the places that they sell, if they purportedly sell it, is in a sand area that seemed like at one point in time it was a picnic facility. And for groups that, family groups, or for any kind of group that wants to get together and have like a community picnic, there is no place to do that. And that sand area is blank, and so if you have a facility that's not being used for any purpose, bad things can happen, which is, I've observed when I've been out there quite a bit, things like that happening. So a picnic facility, which perhaps may not be costing that much, but would benefit the direct community there. So.
And depending on the extent of that, we could put cast concrete picnic benches for a very low cost, and that's something I would be including in the operational line item.
Sure.
So we could address that at a low
Thank
cost
you.
level.
And just to add to the list of ideas, there has been some discussion about constructing a gazebo, maybe for holding plays or concerts or performances, and possibly it would be funded through the Community Benefit Fund from the port. So that's just an idea that has been floated around as well. So.
And to piggyback on your idea, I've seen a number of communities where what they do is they have a portable stage that you basically drive in. You can have movies at the park, you can have concerts, and then you can move it out so that it can be used for other facilities. And I'm sure
Great idea.
someplace in the community we could park it and then bring it in for those type of events. So.
Anything else?
No, that's all
All
I
right.
have.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you. All right, we're down to the last item up for our presentations. This is item number 6, update on the City of Port Hueneme strategic plan. We have Ms. Chris Grimm here from ARIA Consulting to present. Come on down, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Laura Hernandez, honorable council members, honorable city manager, and Charlie, and Christine, and everyone else in this room who has enabled us to get this far on this plan. I'm excited to tell you about what's next. I want to say thank you. There's a lot of people in this room who have participated already in the beginning of this process. And my name is Christine Grimm, if you didn't catch that, of ARIA Consulting, and we're a few months in here, so we're starting to run. So I'm going to, I put some slides in here that some of you have seen numerous times, but for anybody who's brand new to this conversation, I wanted you to know what we were doing and why. So here we go. That's me. So the objectives of this process, for anyone who has not been with us since the beginning.
Talk to us.
Yeah, just talk to you.
Yeah,
I
you're
just
just
can't help it.
addressing us here.
I feel like Jerry Springer. I should just have my phone and talk to everyone. So we're going to obviously work on trust, and we've already started doing that. Hope that you noticed, by including more people in the conversation. I will be spending some more time with you, City Council, and with the executives at the city as we get deeper into this plan. Obviously, we're also working on increasing alignment and agreement regarding key initiatives and priorities, including at the highest level, as I'm going to talk to you about, our vision for the city and values. Coming down into those strategic initiatives, and we have a little bit of work to do to finalize that, but we've started with aligning those. And of course, to establish a strategic plan that reflects a high level of stakeholder alignment and support collaborative decision making now and as you move forward with your plan. So we are on track to do that. I know it's for many of you causing lots of meetings and lots of process, so again, I want to thank everybody who continues to hang in there. I showed this at the workshop and got some feedback that it was a good thing for me to continue to share in the process. So I just want to ground us all in understanding that our entire process includes all these things. When we start with any organization, we do discovery and origination of ideas. Origination, that's what we call it. When we interview people, and we did some survey already to some small groups, all of you included, where we're trying to find out what kind of cake are we making, right? Is this a chocolate cake or a carrot cake or a lemon cake or something different? And starting to kind of see what themes emerge from that. And then we move into validation and prioritization. Because when you have an ecosystem like a city, we feel, which is I think why you picked us, that including our stakeholders in the conversation about what cake are we baking, and then gathering the ingredients together is important. So we don't just rush to a plan. It would be really easy to do that, and there are many firms, by the way, who do that. But we really felt like the best approach. So I thank you again that you've been in this process, but I wanted to put that visual up there so that you could see that we have been doing a lot of discovery and origination. We're moving into validation and prioritization. We actually started some of that at the workshop. We're not at execution yet. We're not ready to write a plan, even though I think we have a framework for your plan. So let's talk a little bit about that. So if this looks familiar to some of you, it should. It is what we did for discovery and origination. We did a lot of work. I called it the 4 trains coming into the station for our workshop that we had on October 1st. And if you will remember, we did a fairly extensive SWOT, or at least the city staff did, shared visioning survey. We did a bunch of interviews, and we started to look at other cities' strategic plans so we could pick a template. Look at that. There's all of you, people in the room, some not. We had a workshop on October 1st at the port. It was a wonderful day. We felt like there was a lot of really great energy. And I have 2 slides, by the way, if you can't find yourself in this one. Our goal on that day was to really do some shared visioning, to consider some values, what that means, and how that might work at the highest level of your plan. We started talking about areas of focus, and that was a great turnout. So first, I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving a full day of your time. And welcoming the public. I know I did get some feedback because it is not necessarily a traditional model for members of the public to participate at the actual tables. Philosophically, we believe that is the best way to be not only transparent but collaborative, so that's what we did. I don't imagine that we're going to do another full-day workshop in this process, but I do think we'll have more opportunities to include people. Look, there's more. There's you. Overall, we felt like it was an incredibly productive day. We have a ton of data from that day, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with that now, unless anybody has anything else they want to say about October 1st. Anyone?
Well, I'll just add to your comments, Chris, that it was a good day. It was a productive day, but I especially was impressed by the fact that we were able to get members of the public there who were noticed through the council agenda. It was noticed like a regular council meeting. We had at least 4 members from the public attend, which was good. And then we had the port represented, the Navy base represented, the county represented, and I'm not sure if I'm missing somebody, but it was definitely a community collaborative effort that day. So I was really happy with that.
I think we had more than 4 of the public. I think we
Oh,
had,
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there's 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My numbers are off, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
even
it
better.
was great. I also want to tell you, as someone who does this all the time, there were a lot of people who stayed for the whole day. That's not always normal. So we were impressed, my team was impressed that we really had people who stuck with us the whole day and participated actively. So that's kudos to all of you, frankly. That's not because of us.
If I could, I just wanted to share with the public what I learned. And SWOT, you heard Christine mention SWOT, functional SWOT. And it's a process to identify your strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and threats. And so that is a really healthy exercise to go through, because when you hear from different perspectives, it's like, wow, I didn't think of that one. And then at the end of the day, you're just filled with a whole bunch of more information and opportunities that you didn't really think about and threats that you didn't really think about. And then also identifying your strengths is really important, as well as your weaknesses. So it took me a while to get a grasp on that concept, but I'm really excited about SWOT.
It's a business term.
You know
We
what,
do
if
it all
I
the
do
time.
one thing, and that's it, that's good. Good, thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about how we move forward. There is a lot of activity that will be happening in the next 90 to 120 days, not including, but we will say, the holidays. Which will be upon us, which could slow us down a little bit. That's okay, don't worry, we don't need to rush. I would love to get this plan in final form by the end of March. We added some time in there, and I want to make sure everybody's heard me say that. I said it at the workshop, but I want to say that out loud. We started a little later than we thought because we made room for the budgeting process to be finalized. And then we talked, as Rod and our steering committee did, we looked at the year, and knowing that the holidays were probably going to be disruptive, that we said, okay, this is going to obviously turn to the front of the first of the year, and we also have some leadership transition. We have some new staff members coming on, I think in November. So we just wanted to give room for that and make sure that the right people were with us as we brought this home. So just note that. Okay, so I just want to just briefly, I don't want to make you have a long night, so I just want to tell you what's coming next. Before I talk about what's on the slide, though, I want to tell you that what you will all experience moving forward is I'm going to put some things in place because we'll have a lot of activity going on, and it won't be centralized. And what I mean by that is, as we move forward, like I said, I don't believe that we need another full day with everybody in the room together. And because of that, there will be a lot of moving pieces. And I already am very, very aware that I don't talk to all of you all the time. And I don't, for people in the audience who don't know, we have a steering committee
But we rotate members of the steering committee, so I only have 2 council members, for instance, at a time. That means the other council members aren't necessarily up to speed with things. So here's what I'm planning to do as we move forward. I am going to put together an email update and decide on the cadence of that with our steering committee members. Alongside that, I think that we need to think about the cadence of this report, because we're gonna do a lot of work, and monthly won't be enough. So I think that we might need to do it bi-monthly. I'll talk to you about that later, Rod. And the other thing is, I'm really considering expanding our steering committee as we move forward, and using our steering committee time to do some of this work. So I just want you all to just be aware of that, because we have a number of things to do, as I'm going to talk to you about, and I want to be efficient, but also make sure that the right people are in the process and don't feel like you're lagging behind. And I did hear that feedback from a number of you, even at the workshop, that felt like they didn't know what was happening at the workshop. So I hear that feedback, and I just want to make sure we don't ever have that again, all of you. So I just want you to note that. Okay, so let's talk about what we're doing. And there's 4 big pieces to how we move forward, and these came from all of you. We have our, like I said, shared vision and values, and now we have a lot of origination of ideas, and we have a lot of validation, actually, around the themes that you all believe could be the vision for the city moving forward. I'm planning on doing the rest of the visioning with the city council. So you'll note that I'm going to work with Christy and with Rod and Charlie to do a special meeting with you and finalize that. And I'll be sending you some things in advance. So just please note that that's going to happen. And I know we have to work around your schedules to do that. The values, I'm going to probably work on that in, like I said, an expanded steering committee process with a number of the city staff members who helped us drive the SWAT process. And of course, some of you are on the steering committee. And as we rotate steering committee members, we'll see where that falls on the calendar. And I'll make sure that if I have a new city council member rotating on to steering committee, that we talk at least once before that, so you don't walk in cold to the process. And that's the vision and values part of this. Again, those won't be finalized with those small groups, but I'm going to try and get us to like 90% in this next round, so that we can come back and decide who makes the final decision, or are we going to do that until we start putting the plan together. And what I mean, everybody, about that is that when you're building a strategic plan, and it is not an overlapping strategic plan, right? We're not operating with an old strategic plan and just amending it or adding to it. We're kind of starting from scratch in a lot of ways. And so we all won't know if these components are right until we start seeing them all together. So I just want you to note that, so that in your head you're not going, I want to check it off the list. Because at this moment in time, like I said, the whole thing has to be right. We can't just look at one thing in isolation. So just thinking about the process there. The second thing you can see on there is to validate areas of focus, goals, and actions. And so what you will note that I'm going to do is that Rod and I have talked about me scheduling some time for myself and my staff to come back with the city leaders, executives and their team members, to revisit the SWAT results, and then to start actually looking about what is actionable in the SWAT. So to Council Member Gama's comments, a SWAT is fantastic, but not everything in it is actionable, never. And you have limited resources and limited time, and we want to make sure the right things go into this plan. And so, for instance, I was thinking as Anna was talking, there are things in the SWAT that she just talked about that might go into a master plan or a capital improvements plan. So they don't have to go in the strategic plan necessarily, right? We might point to it, but they don't have to be a focal point of the strategic plan. So we have to sort those things out and then consider where they go in the plan. So that second piece will mostly be done with staff. And then you can see the bottom two things, which will be increasingly important as we move forward, which is engaging the public and the businesses in this city. And our plan at the moment is, just so you all know, it came out of steering committee, so some of you know, is that I'm going to leverage our new commissioners and the Citizens Advisory Group, along with some other people from the public who have said they wanted to be a part of it. And then, of course, Tracy's been wonderful from the chamber in helping me maybe identify some businesses also to help us plan for a survey. This is not hard. In fact, right now in Ventura County, Thousand Oaks is going through a process, and they have their live survey at the moment. So we won't be the only ones doing this. So we are going to do a survey. I actually think we might do two separate surveys, one for business and one for the public. Those groups will help us start to architect that. We don't have to do, we're not inventing the wheel here, but we do need to talk about the timing of it. And I want you all to know that the way we do that is, obviously we do it electronically, but I want to make sure we have paper available and that we have it open long enough that we get the maximum amount of participation as possible in both English and Spanish. And I don't think we have a third language that we need for this city, but if we do, we can take care of that. But again, more voices is our goal in this process. Are there any questions about the public and business, at least the first part of that plan? Okay, as a follow-up item, I said it at the workshop, after the surveys close, we will be doing focus group / hearing, if you will. And I believe at the moment we're probably going to take a neighborhood by neighborhood approach to that. I don't know yet. You'll all help decide how we do that. I want to be efficient. I want to respect the budget that we have to work in. We may leverage volunteers. I don't know yet. But we do need to, after the survey, make sure that we vet out what we hear very well. And then, of course, last but absolutely not least, in fact, this could be a running theme through this process. I think you have amazing partners in the Navy, the port, the county.
Chamber?
The chamber, absolutely. I kind of put the chamber in that engage public and business bucket. But I do think that we've been invited to leverage our partners like the Navy, thank you, Amanda, the port, et cetera, and the county. And I want to find a way to do that. So steering committee members note that that's going to be on our agenda as we determine the best way to do that. I know that in the survey process, we're probably going to need everybody to help us drive the word so that we can get the maximum amount of participation. I get a little competitive, just so you know, when we do that. So we will pull some numbers about what like really high participation is. We're going to get it. Any questions about that? Because it's a lot. Okay, great. Okay, so I also just wanted to bring it back into your attention that everything that we're doing has an underlying focus on the scorecard. If you are talking about this with each other, I'm bringing this into your attention right now because I want this to be a way that you talk to each other about the strategic plan and ensuring that we are thinking about the vision and the values and the strategies and actions that will be in this plan with this as kind of the multi-focus lens, if you will. Making sure that we not only have a plan that is responsible in stewardship to the financial resources, but also really our stakeholders, infrastructure, and people, of course. Okay, last but not least, you have all seen this before. I mentioned this at the end of our workshop. For those of you who haven't seen this, this is a fairly typical structure for a 5-year plan. We believe we are building a 5-year plan. I don't know that we're going to find anything contrary to that moving forward. We need to look at year 1 of that as a stabilization or the foundation of our plan so that the rest of the stuff can be built on that. So that my work, like I said, with the staff, with the city staff and leaders, is really going to look at what is ground zero and then what gets us into at least year 1 or year 2 to lay a foundation for this plan. So again, just some things for you all to have reference to
as we talk about this. And guess what? That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Chris?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. We're already tired thinking about it.
It is a lot.
No, I know you put out a lot of energy in your team, Chris, in making this all happen, and I'm confident it will all come together. So thank you for your efforts and your wisdom and your assistance in this process.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. We are done with our presentations. Now we are at the consent calendar, and I will read the titles and the items that are on the consent calendar prior to entertaining a motion. So item 7 is approved minutes of the City Council special meeting of October 1st, 2019, and regular meeting of October 7th, 2019. Item number 8, we're going to approve finance cash disbursements for September 28th through October 11th, 2019. Item number 9, adopt a resolution of the City of Port Hueneme supporting the Reducing Crime and Keeping California Safe Act of 2020, and I believe there's a new report in an updated report in our packets that were just passed around earlier. And item 10, approve a second-term employment agreement for our police chief, Andrew Salinas, and corresponding salary range adjustments for the classification of city manager and police chief.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second, and may we please go ahead and vote. No roll call is necessary. It says take a voice vote. Okay, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Consent agenda has been approved. All right, now we're going to move on to public hearings. Do we need to take a roll call for public hearings? No? Okay. So effective as of 8 o'clock, 8:05, the hearing is now opened. And do any members of the council have any conflicts or anything else to disclose regarding this particular item? Anybody? Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have proof of publication as required by law?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a complete file of reports and exhibits?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Tony, will you please present your report? Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor, or Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, staff, audience. As soon as we get the PowerPoint up here, we'll get underway. There we go. Okay, so this is a plan development, CUP, which is PHCU 862, and development agreement number PHDA 863. And this is for Freedom First Association, also better known to everybody as Skunk Masters, for their relocation of their existing dispensary.
Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me just a second. I have a card on this. Do they present after, comment after? After. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So the applicant, Bob Tatum, on behalf of Freedom First, is requesting to relocate their existing dispensary from its existing location up at 2675 North Ventura Road to a new location, which is 233 East Channel Islands Boulevard, along what we call the Green Mile nowadays. The site is zoned commercial or C1. Our ordinance and implementing resolution for the cannabis program allow uses conditionally in the C1 zone, subject to approval of the CUP, the development agreement, and the certificate of approval. And this is also consistent with our general plan land use designation of commercial. The applicant currently is operating the first dispensary to open in Port Hueneme and one of the most successful. And he is also one of the first to obtain a permanent license from the state's Bureau of Cannabis Control. The applicant obtained a new certificate of approval for the location on September 27th, and this was a result of providing us a new application package. So he kind of had to go through the process again, not quite as complicated before because we didn't have to go through backgrounds and whatnot, but it was still fairly complex with regard to security and safety plans, new business operations, etc. So the site, which is not too far from his existing site, is surrounded by multifamily to the north,
to the south by the Channel Islands and the Navy base, Ventura County's golf course beyond that, and to the east and west by similar commercial uses. The nearest school is 3,100 feet away. 600 feet is the requirement from the state, so he's well away from any existing school. There are no changes to the site plan, and I'll show the floor plan and the building elevations with a few changes in just a couple of minutes here. This is an aerial of the site itself, and their location in the building would pretty much be in the center of it. Here's a site plan better showing the building, its location. The light blue area is the area the dispensary would be taking up. It's several suites which will be combined into one. The white area off to the left is the existing sushi restaurant, and then to the right are existing suites. The applicant will also have their property management suite offices in that portion next door.
So Tony, just a quick question. This is on the corner of Channel Islands Boulevard, and what's the cross street, the other cross street that's?
Madeira. So that's a cul-de-sac that goes
Oh,
up
okay,
to,
thank you.
multifamily there.
I understand we have maps in our packet here.
So the floor plan itself, I won't get into too much detail, but let's see, well, that's kind of interesting, but this area here would be the lobby with the reception and the dispensary in this location here with a separate exit for folks who have purchased their products. If they do purchase a product, they take their order up to the window here, which is the dispensing room. There's a separate area for deliveries coming in, separate from the dispensary, which is much preferred for security reasons. Also along the street, those areas that are shown in light blue, those are existing windows, and there'll be false walls constructed behind there with one emergency exit remaining. And the purpose of that is to allow the building to maintain its commercial appearance, but to also provide an extra level of security for the dispensary operation. So therefore, the exterior elevations in this fairly old building, so fairly old elevations, will not be changing. Like most of our dispensaries, the hours of operation will be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days per week. Customers will be 21 years of age or older, unless they have a medical card. There will be odor control similar to the existing facility, which will be storing bulk product in a safe room. There'll be a carbon filter system plus a separate carbon fans and gel dispensing units to further control odors. There will be on-site security, and actually the overlying company will have their own security at this point. They'll be based upstairs, so it'll be very much on-site. Staffing, as currently, local residents are preferred, and they have to be at least 21 years of age or older. And as you're well aware, we do require all of our cannabis folks to contribute at least 1% of their gross revenues to charitable organizations, and Skunk Masters has been one of the biggest contributors to many of our charities here in the city. For instance, the REACH, Boys and Girls Club, Police Department's Explorers and their annual toy drive, the Oxnard Homeless Shelter, which also benefits the cities of Fort Hueneme, and many others that we've discussed in the past. And with regard to the development agreement itself, we've been through this pretty much every time I've come up to you. Since the city does not have a cannabis tax in place right now, we require a development agreement instead. And what that is that it basically sets in place certain things that the city will agree to, as well as the applicant. And in this case, as with all of our cannabis businesses, there'll be a contractual payment of 5% of the annual gross revenues. The applicant will maintain all books and records accurately and pay for up to 2 audits a year. In fact, as you may recall, they just had their first annual audit last meeting, I guess, is what I reported to you. And then they will obtain a certificate of occupancy for the dispensary within 1 year. And I understand that will actually be much sooner than 1 year if this is approved. The project, because there are no substantial improvements being made other than to the interior of the building, and the use is still considered a retail use, it is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act. So with regard to that 5% and the pro forma that the applicant has provided, they are expecting their first year sales in the new location to be approximately $10 million, year 2 about 11.5, and year 3 a little over 13, which translates to about $500,000 for the city first year, a little under $600,000 for the second year, and about $660,000 for year 3. And so with that, staff's recommendation is that the City Council open the public hearing to take testimony and documented evidence, then close the public hearing and consider the evidence. After considering that evidence, adopt the attached resolution that approves conditionally CUP 862 and determine that the project is exempt from CEQA, and introduce the ordinance which approves the development agreement PHDA 863, accompanied by title only, and waive further reading with approval to follow at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Or 4, take such additional related action as you would like to. And with that, that concludes my presentation. The owner, Bob Tatum, is here, as well as his manager and son, Mark Tatum, to answer any questions as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. City Council members have any questions?
I have one question for Tony, and it's just, I remember that they went through a similar process early on and made similar predictions on their sales. Did they exceed those predictions?
Yes, they have. I can't give you specific
I'm not
numbers,
asking
but
for
they
specific.
they have exceeded expectations, yes.
Excellent, congratulations.
Anyone else? Councilman
yeah.
Rollins?
Yes, on the outside of the building, are there any plans to do any renovation? I'm not familiar with that building per se.
There are not, other than to fortify the front entry with either planters or decorative bollards or something so somebody can't drive in, and that's from the parking lot side. But the rest of the building's architectural may remain intact.
And I'm not good at reading maps. Are they going to be entering from the Channel Island side or from the parking lot behind?
From the parking lot behind.
Okay.
Councilwoman Schnapps?
Yeah, so that was my question is, as I'm looking at this reading here, it's where the front doors were. And so you're saying that they're coming in from the parking lot side?
Correct. I can back up if you'd like here. I'll show that to you on the site plan.
Right there.
Let's go back to the site plan here, because the floor plan actually is flipped. It's upside down. So the entrances themselves, if I can get this thing working. Well, in that blue area there, you'll see the two lighter areas, and those are the entrance areas there. So they'll be facing the parking lot. There will be one emergency exit facing Channel Islands, but the rest of the existing doors will be covered with those false walls behind.
Okay, and so as typical with the other one, the entrance was separate from the exit, and you described it that it would be the same here.
Correct.
I just don't know where it is on the map, so.
I can move that back here a little bit. So you'll see the double doors. That's the entrance into the lobby itself, and then there's a restroom just off to the left of there, and beyond that would be the exit.
I see, okay.
I do want to point out, actually, we're finding out from the fire department that they're not necessarily, the fire department's not necessarily in love with these exits as designed anymore for their particular purposes. So hopefully they will like this one because the doors are fairly far apart on that exit part, but we will be working with the fire department to make sure that the final plan is satisfactory to them as well.
And so the hours of operation are 9 to 9 every day?
Correct.
Okay.
More questions? Okay. I just wanted clarification on the Channel Islands exit. There is indeed an emergency exit on the Channel Islands Boulevard side, correct?
Correct. So you'll see there are some light blue doors. Those are the ones that are going to be blocked off, but the one pretty much right in the middle, the darker blue, that would be the emergency exit. Up there, kind of right under the O and the R of the floor plan.
Okay. And what's the upstairs going to be used for?
The applicant can speak to that a little bit more. It's not part of this actual dispensary, so that's why we don't really discuss it. They are leasing it. I believe part of it's going to be for their own security company, will be at least a part of it. But I'm not sure about the other suite yet.
Okay. I just never noticed there was an upstairs to that building there. I drive by it all the time, and I just didn't realize there was an upstairs.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention too is I've seen quite a bit of your billboards throughout the county.
Oh.
And so you're really broadcasting loud and wide here
Yeah,
for
and this-
business.
Right, and through VC Star as well. I see a lot of your ads. You guys are doing a lot of good advertising. Well, that's a prime piece of property right there. That corner is, hopefully you'll do great business there. Yeah, so congratulations. Okay. No more questions, then I'll move ahead. Is there anybody who would like to address the council on this matter? If so, please come forward. I have one card here from Steve Kinney.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I'm Steve Kinney. I'm here tonight as a volunteer representing the Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Port Hueneme. I'm here instead of Aaron Antrim, who is the CEO of the club, because in this particular case, I serve as the chairman of the comprehensive fundraising drive, which the club is currently undertaking. It's a drive to raise $5 million for improvements to the clubs in Oxnard and Port Hueneme, the most ambitious financial goal that the club has faced in 25 years. We've been working with businesses and individuals throughout the community. I guess apropos to the subject tonight, we have been talking most recently with Bob and Mark Tatum and his family. And I'm happy to tell you tonight that we have just within the last couple of weeks finalized an agreement in which the Tatum family pledges to contribute $250,000 to the Boys and Girls Club over the next 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Nice.
I mean, I frankly don't think that the Tatums need a lot of testimonial support because I think their record speaks for itself far more loudly and persuasively than anybody else can. But you really can't, help but take a minute and express the appreciation from the club's perspective as to what this does for the prospects, for the success of the fundraising drive. And I should tell you, by the way, that components of the agreement are that all of that money is going to be directed toward the Port Hueneme Club. It's a fundraising drive for, the club has got clubhouses in Oxnard and Island Acres and all over, but this is specifically going to improve the Port Hueneme clubhouse, which needs it the most. And in fact, one of the improvements there will be a STEAM center, STEAM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. There will be a STEAM center put in all of the new clubhouses, but the one in Port Hueneme will be named for the Tatum family in recognition of their contribution. So on top of all the other contributions and donations and community support that they've demonstrated over their time here, I just want to make sure you're aware of this latest and frankly greatest, and offer our really tremendous support for what they're doing in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to the Tatum family.
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club is very important to our community. So thank you so much. Any other comments from our
No.
city council?
And I think that as $50,000 for the next 5 years at $250,000, I believe that's the largest single donation made to any organization in our community ever. So thank you so much for doing that.
Anybody else?
This gentleman's
Public speaker.
Okay.
Oh, card coming up. 2 more.
2 more cards, okay. William and Debbie Golke. Golke.
Good evening, council members and staff. I'm Debbie Golke,
There's my husband, William, there. He's my biggest fan and, and supporter. I'm here to show my appreciation and support for Skunk Masters as well. I'm a member of the Seroptimus Club of Oxnard. I've been a member for almost 32 years, and this year I'm doing a really big project that I've been chair of for the last 13 years, and it required some fundraising. Not quite as hefty as Mr. Kenny's fundraising project, but it was still large enough for me to have to go out into the community and seek donations. And so a few of our donors, one of them is sitting over here in the corner, is from the Port Hueneme Peace Officers Association, so I do want to thank them for what they've given to us. But getting back to the Tatum family, I went in there and I had never met Bob Tatum before, and I looked at him in the face, square in the eye, and I presented my project, and he looked down at me, and he was on board from the first few minutes that I started speaking to him, and he definitely became our biggest contributor to this project. And the project, if you don't know what it is yet, I guess I didn't tell you, but every year we do this annual community awareness project to bring community awareness and education throughout the county on human trafficking. So this is a Stop Human Trafficking project that will be on March 7th, 2020. And so the Tatum family has really been able to make this happen for us. And what we're doing with the funding this year is to do more county awareness through the buses, local transportation. So the Gold Coast Transit District will be having tails, not all the buses, but interior ads on the tails, and then we'll be doing bus shelters and some billboards and 30-second spots in some 5 movie cinemas throughout the county. So we're really trying to get the awareness out there and get information so that victims of human trafficking will have resources to help them get out of that terrible situation that they're in. So I really, really appreciate what Bob and Mark Tatum has done, and we're lucky as the city of Port Hueneme to have them in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? I only had one card. You said there were 2?
I didn't realize that they were together.
Oh, okay. Okay, there we go.
But they're not together.
It's my wife. Mayor Pro Temp and City Council members, I certainly want to second what my wife has indicated. Bob has been just outstanding. We live over near, we live in Carefree Living Facility. He's not far away from us. He's an exemplary neighbor, and as you know, he's very generous. And so I would really support his efforts to relocate. And we will miss him where he is, but he'll be still nearby. So thank you very much, and I hope you take care of him.
Thank you very much. All right, if there are no more speaker cards, we'll move forward.
Mayor Pro Tem, could
Yes.
you specifically state that you're closing the public hearing?
I'm just getting ready to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does staff have any further comments? Okay, if there is no further discussion, we'll close the public hearing, the time being 8:27 p.m. And seeing without objection, we will close the public meeting never mind. Okay, so we already did that. We have before us a recommendation to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme granting approval of a conditional use permit application number PHCU-862 and introduced for first reading by title only and waive full reading of an ordinance approving and adopting a development agreement under Government Code Section 55864. Better put my glasses on. That's 65864 to 65869.5 and ordinance number 727 and ordinance number 734 of the Port Hueneme Municipal Code relating to the operation of a cannabis business facility for application number PHDA-863. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve the,
Councilman Rollins has moved to approve. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Schnapps, a second. And may we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Rollins,
yes.
Munoz-Schnapp,
Yes.
Gama,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor Berg is absent for the record.
Okay, the motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you again for your generous support. All right, now we'll move on to city council business items. Item number 12, monthly crime and community activities report by our police chief, Andrew Salinas.
Good evening, everyone. Since I'm up here and I have the podium, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a few statements about skunk masters before I started my presentation.
The mic is, I can't.
Is that better, Charlie?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to stay for the comments the chief is about to make about your business?
He's going to talk about you.
He has a gun, so I would.
So again, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity while up here on the podium to talk about skunk masters and their contributions to our community over the last 2 years. By far, they have set the standard in the state in terms of others modeling what we've done here in Port Hueneme. I'm not aware of any other cannabis dispensary that has donated and reinvested so much into the community they reside in than Skunk Masters has in the state of California. So much so that other cities are starting to replicate our program, even as close as Oxnard, thanks to what we have done. In fact, David McPherson and I, David, the president of HDL, and I are presenting before the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers in January about our financial successes, and it will include our community contributions program, and that's because of Skunk Masters. And I could give you the whole long list of stuff, such as the homeless shelters, the fireworks show, the Boys and Girls Club, Police Explorers, Real Guppies. I mean, the list goes on. Sir Optimist, and again, they've led the way thus far with $75,000 so far in donations, plus the pledge that they've committed to thus far. So they have definitely set the standard, and I'm proud to have them as a dispensary within our community, and not many police chiefs would say that about a cannabis dispensary. Okay, so you can leave now.
You're getting 86 from the council chambers.
So I'm here this evening to present the October monthly crime report as well as community update. This was actually a rather lengthy presentation at about 42 slides because we didn't do one in August or September. My September presentation was on the homeless issue that was occurring here in Port Hueneme, but just so you know, I did downgrade the presentation to only 25 slides, so we'll get through this pretty quickly.
Thank you.
I know there's a few people that are happy about that. So we'll actually start with crime in the city of Port Hueneme. The last 2 months have been outstanding, with a total of 28 crimes in August and 24 in September, making that 2 of our lowest months throughout the year. As you can see also, if you look at the violent crime category, which I consistently point to every month, we had 1 in August and 2 in September. And so where does that leave us overall as compared to last year? That leaves us with an overall violent crime reduction of 47%. 1% property crime decrease because we had really good months with burglaries and thefts, and then now we're at an overall crime decrease of 7% for the year. This is in light of all those that had said, hey, cannabis is coming to your community, your crime is going to spike, you're going to have high crime now, and I have the numbers to prove that that's not the case. In fact, our community is actually safer. I can't say it's a result of the cannabis dispensaries and the armed security, but I can definitely say that crime has not increased as a result of us having cannabis here in Port Hueneme. So I wanted to point that out. So I constantly talk about theft from vehicles being our #1 property crime. It is no longer. People are now locking their vehicles but now we still have to deal with shoplifts. And that's something very difficult to deal with on the police department side, because if the stores themselves don't want to do anything about it, such as hiring security or having video cameras. For instance, there is a marine supply store on Channel Islands that refuses to install cameras or have loss prevention, and they are constantly being struck with shoplifting. And so that's something that we have to address and deal. But of the 62 larceny thefts that we've had over the last 3 months, 26 of them have been shoplifts, which accounts for 42% of our property crime. So yes?
Were those concentrated in any one shopping center?
Well, the marine supply store is in the Oliveira Shopping Center. I won't say their name, but I think we can all figure out who that is. Yeah. So going to community updates, this is my favorite part, and that's talking about our community events that we've had or what the police department has done over the last couple of months. And I'm going to start with our senior prom that we had this past Friday, because it was pretty exciting. It was our first annual here in the city of Port Hueneme at the Ocean View Pavilion. It was attended by Councilmember Stephen Gama and his mother. Mayor Will Berg showed up for a couple of hours, and so I have a couple of pictures here to show everyone. Drawing back the curtains here. First, we have our setup, as you can see, formal dining. We served 200 people that were at the event. And then here on the right, you can see our photo booth that we had for all of our senior citizens. Everyone got their pictures taken before coming in. So we move on to the other pictures. We crowned our king and queen. This was done through a raffle for those who wanted to participate and be crowned. And these were the two that were selected, and they were honored as king and queen of the 2019 Senior Citizen Prom in Port Hueneme. And then many people lined up to actually dance with the chief of police, including Mrs. Gamma there. And so it was a fun time had by all. And I'm actually kind of upset that Charlie's not here to see these beautiful pictures, because he'd have some comment to make. All right, so moving on. I haven't presented since we had National Night Out, so I just want to touch on it really quick. We did have the largest national, oh, Charlie, you're here. I wanted to show you some pictures.
Oh, thank goodness.
We had our largest National Night Out event since I've been here, and it was at the Community Center Park. We had nearly 800 people attend. We had free cotton candy and free activities such as the climbing wall and the jolly jumps. And as you can see by these pictures, it was quite packed. We served over 675 meals to those that attended. We actually ran out of paper plates and napkins before we ran out of food. Probably could have accommodated closer to 800. And we also had live entertainment. We had a mariachi band as well as a 12-person Mexican banda that performed at the event. And so this inspired us to have an event even bigger and better next year. So we've decided on a Polynesian Hawaiian theme over at the beach. And so we're going to attempt to take over parking lot A and have fire dancers and Polynesian hula dancers and the whole bit. So we'll see. Our goal next year is to get 1,000 people to attend our event next year in August. So we attended the Walk Like Mad community event, which was held at the collection in Oxnard. The theme was 80s, and so we dressed up as the Karate Kid theme here because there was a costume contest as a result, also a fundraising contest, of which we raised the most money in all of Ventura County. We raised $7,000 for the event, which was by far the most than any other organization, and we won first place for our costumes. And there you see me receiving the trophy. It was thanks to dispensaries such as Skunk Masters and HPC, From the Earth, Safeport that all donated and helped make that possible. As a result of that win, I asked them if we could host the event next year, and they agreed. So we'll be hosting the Walk Like Mad 5K event at the beach next year in August.
Good job. That's great.
Coastal Cleanup Day. I mean, you showed your video a little bit earlier, so just a few pictures here. Really want to point out, again, we had some of our cannabis owners at the event assisting. We had several city council members assisting at the event, including Councilmember Rollins, Stephen Gama there giving an orientation on how to use the trash stick. He's an expert at that. As you can see, the number of kids there at the event to assist us, and then our registration desk, which also included County Supervisor Kelly Long, who came out to assist us. So it was I've got to say that was probably the largest group of people in the county in terms of beach cleanup, and I bet we challenged others throughout the state with over 500 people at our one site. I want to talk about the Banana Festival. Oops. So here we have several of our city booths, including the Police Department, Public Works, REACH, and the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce, as well as Parks and Rec that attended the event. We put out our newly, what we call Cops and Cones. We renovated a ice cream cart, and we're going to be taking this out to all of our events and using it at the beach during the summertime. And we're going to be passing out free ice cream to all the kids at Little League games, at the parks. We stocked it with 300 ice creams during the Banana Festival, and we pretty much sold it out within the first 3 hours. So that was popular. We, of course, gave away banana ice creams during the day. And then, as you can see, me in the dunk tank for 3 hours during the event, and the Explorers were able to raise $1,500 this year as a result of that.
How are your shoes? He went in with his shoes.
Yes, with my boots. It took 3 days for them to dry in the sun. I don't want to steal Don's thunder here, no pun intended, but we did participate in the Great Shakeout on October 17th at 10:17 a.m. Here are a few photos of everyone participating, including Big Mike Hamrick there, who could barely fit underneath his desk.
Good for him.
But we all participated in the building, and so I wanted to share these photos with everybody. So Port Hueneme security has been a concern lately, especially with the importing of things other than bananas in some of the most recent searches and inspections that have come out of Port Hueneme, specifically methamphetamine, since the beginning of this year. And so we have joined forces with Customs to assist them. We were out this morning to board the ship and to provide a police presence for this issue, and we will continue to do this in the coming months. I have also been in discussions with the port in regards to creating a port division of the Port Hueneme Police Department, where they are looking at funding upwards of 4 police officers to specifically patrol the port grounds. And so we're just trying to kind of conjure up a sketch of what that would look like before we bring it forth before the city manager and city council.
Councilman Gama?
Would that include the use of drug sniffing dogs?
Yes, so that is a priority with us. As soon as we get our staffing levels back up to adequate levels, we do plan on bringing the canine dog back to our police department. We actually have funding right now through the Woods Claysons Foundation to purchase a dog right now. But as soon as I can get a canine officer on board, we will get that going. And hopefully it'll be closer to the beginning of next year.
So I had heard that a shipment of drugs actually got clear to a store
In Washington,
up
yes.
north,
Yes.
and they found it at the store because it came in, I guess, on a crate.
Yes, so it's hidden within the pallet oftentimes, and so unless you have a dog there or someone specifically looking for it, it's very difficult to detect at times. And so that's why they've asked us to come on board and be a police presence to see if we can deter such activity or at least assist them with locating the illegal narcotics.
Great idea.
So in September, I was asked to speak at the Port Hueneme Historical Museum and talk about cannabis in our community. So I was able to talk about cannabis in our community over the last 18 months. It was a sold-out event with standing room only, and it was well attended, and people are genuinely interested in hearing about how cannabis is doing in our community, because it was attended not just by our residents, but people from outside of our city as well, just like it was during the original presentation on March 28th. So we commonly attend community events. We attended the Evangelistic Missionary Baptist Church community event on September 7th. It was on a Saturday. Here we had the fire department at the event as well as the police department. And I'll actually come back to them because they offered to assist us with the homeless issue within our city, and I'll come back to that on a later slide. But I wanted to show everyone us participating in the event along with the fire department, and actually Councilmember Rollins was at the event on Saturday, and I know many of you attended the church services on September 8th as well. Our explorers, not only do they handle details out in the community, but they also use that money they fundraise to compete in competitions in the state of California as well as Arizona. And I was proud to hear that they went to Riverside a couple of weekends ago and competed against 35 other teams. Wow. And they won first place in a number of categories, which included team shooting, the bicycle team challenge. They came in second place in the top shot competition, as well as second place in emergency negotiations. So they did an outstanding job for a very small city competing against 35 other teams. So I was very proud to hear that.
Good job.
So some of our upcoming events, we have our free paper shredding event this Saturday, and we've combined it with a drug prescription take-back day. We'll do the same operation as we have in previous years, where we'll set up a drive-through in the parking lot out front, and people can drive right up, where our explorers will assist them with offloading all of their paper shredding needs, as well as assisting them with recycling any unused prescription drugs here in our community. One of our upcoming events is this Thursday, Coffee with a Cop at the local Starbucks here on Channel Islands Boulevard. And so you'll encourage everyone to stop by between 7:30 and 9:30, where you'll see our officers interacting with the public, serving coffee, as well as operating the drive-through.
What day of the week is that?
That's this Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
From 7:30 to 9:30. And then, of course, we have our Cops for Tots event. These are pictures from last year, along with pictures of several of our sponsors, which included the law offices of Charles Green, several of our dispensaries. We expect this event to attract over 1,000 children from Port Hueneme and South Oxnard, and we've already got our fundraising component underway, and this event will be held on Saturday, December 21st. We're calling it Breakfast with Santa because as opposed to doing it in the evening, we're now doing it during the morning hours, beginning at 8 a.m. We feel it'll be safer, so the kids aren't out during the dark hours, and it allows us to possibly add snow for the kids to play in during the event or while they're waiting in line, and it's just safer for everyone. So now I'll go back, so I missed a slide here. So the police department does a lot of things behind the scenes, and while we don't always report on homelessness, we talked this past September, but I wanted to share with them what it is that we continue to do to address this issue in the city of Port Hueneme. This past Friday, I attended a church in Santa Paula.
That's my church.
It sure is.
I missed the service that day. I'm so sorry. I wish I had
Church
been
in
there.
Santa Paula, which actually hosts what's called One Stop, and it provides services, portable services to the homeless every week. Every Friday they do it in Santa Paula. Is very similar to what we call backpack medicine. Backpack medicine is the portable part of this, and they go out into the community and go looking for homeless people. In fact, they were here today in Port Hueneme for the third time, and they were actually out at Miranda Park, and today they actually found a suicidal transient out there, and we ended up taking that suicidal subject to mental health. But this is more the stationary, regularly. They know these services are going to be there. They include the mobile medical mobile, the shower services there in the shipping container that you see there. Inside of their recreation room, they have numerous tables set aside, such as them acquiring picture identification, mental health services. They could get their hair cut. They get a free breakfast in the morning, and so the list goes on in terms of the amount of services they get for going. So we are going to be talking to the Evangelistic Baptist Missionary Church to see if they would be open to the idea of having this here in our community once a month on a Monday, and try it out to see if it's something that fits our community. And so on top of that, the bottom right-hand picture shows I made a promise as to our commitment to the homeless issue. We went to the city of Anaheim, myself as well as 4 other officers, to attend homeless training to see what the city of Anaheim is doing, because homelessness is very prevalent in the city of Anaheim, especially as many have heard about a year ago. They dealt with the homeless issue along the riverbed, or the
LA
wash,
River,
the Santa Ava River, yes, and where all the encampments along the bike path there, and everyone was eventually evicted out of that area. And so they talked to us about what they do now, how they incorporate different services, and gave us a lot of different ideas of how we can approach handling the homeless issue in our community. As well as tomorrow evening, I'm attending a seminar at the Ronald Reagan Library on the power and impact of opioids, which obviously affects our homeless population, and may be a reason as we have such a growing homeless population as well. So I'll be out there listening to some of their stories about how we can try and make a difference or get our homeless people that suffer from opioid addiction help. And then, to follow up even further, the city of Oxnard is starting phase 2 of the Ormond Beach cleanup on October 29th through the 31st. They're going to keep on going down the beach and attacking the areas that were not hit the first phase. People were panicking that they didn't finish, and well, we knew this was going to be a phased project. So I received a phone call today from their environmental resources, and these are the days that they have chosen to go back out. And so I offered them whatever they needed to assist, which included the use of parking lot C to stage their equipment, refuse services, as well as the police department or some of our vehicles to go out there and reach some of those areas that are kind of isolated out there.
So that's a Wednesday and a Thursday?
Yeah, so a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or
No,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yes.
Thursdays,
Of next week. Yeah. So we touched on that side, touched on that slide, and that ends my presentation for this month.
Okay, impressive. I don't know how you keep up with everything. That was just, yeah. You're amazing.
Okay. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
does anybody have any questions or comments for the chief?
Excellent
All right,
work.
thank
Oh
you,
my
Joe.
gosh,
Yeah,
thank you so
okay.
much.
Yeah, I was so proud to see my church there. My grandfather founded that church back in the early 1920s. Yeah, so that's why I go to that church. Okay, let's move on to the next item. Find my place here.
13.
So our next item is a Community Development Department report requesting authorizing an application for and receipt of SB2 Planning Grant Program funds. And Mr. Stewart, you're back.
Yes, I am. Thank you, and good evening again, all. So this technically could have been included in our consent calendar, but I wanted to present this to you and answer any questions you may have. So as some of you, or if not all of you probably at this point, are aware, the state is going to be mandating that we all construct, well, a couple million homes in our next RENA cycle here. The SCAG region is at 1.3 million. Which means for Port Hueneme, we're going from 2 units to 125, which doesn't seem like much, except for we're a built-out city, so the idea is where we're going to put those units. Fortunately, HCD, Housing and Community Development Department at the state, does have a program called the SB2, Senate Bill 2 Planning Grants Program, wherein, assuming that an application meets their criteria, cities and counties may apply for basically what they call free money, which is these grants with, that do not require competition, they don't require any kind of matching funds and whatnot. A city our size can apply for up to $160,000. So after reviewing the program requirements and at the planning conference, the state planning conference last month, hearing from everybody that everybody needs to apply for these grants, we took a good look at some of the programs that we already have in place and some of the projects that will be coming up to deal with these housing issues, and decided that yes, we should apply for this grant. So some of the projects that we've been working on, for instance, the code update, which will include a density bonus ordinance update, the housing element update, which you just approved funds for in the operations budget. Hopefully you'll be approving the general plan update, which would also apply to this program. We are also on the hook, once again, like everybody else, to update our accessory dwelling units, or ADU ordinance, even though we just approved it a few months ago. The governor signed into law last week a whole set of new regulations that we'll be forced to basically update. So there are a lot of programs in place, and some that we're going to be mandated to do that all qualify. So staff, due to planning shortage, me, myself, and I, hired Rincon Consultants, who does a lot of work for us, and so for a couple $1,000s, they put together the application package in your package this evening. In fact, they did it very quickly. They talked to HCD and their consultants and got the verbiage which you see in there, which actually comes from HCD and the consultants, to make sure that our application passes muster. So with that, the applications are due on November 30th, but due to the speed at which this application came back to us, I was able to get that to you tonight. And they do require, they meaning HCD requires that with that package, a resolution be approved by the City Council, which is what we're asking for this evening. It's attached in your application package. So like I said, it looks like free money that would reimburse our general fund up to $160,000 for projects that we already have in the pipeline or will be coming down the pipeline over the next 3 years. And so we felt that let's go ahead and apply for it. So here we are.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Any questions from council? Councilman Gama? Oh.
Free money.
Okay, well, we have a card on this, so let me invite Amanda Fagan up to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, members of the City Council, Mr. Butler, and staff. For the record, my name is Amanda Fagan, and I'm the Community Planning Liaison Officer for Naval Base Ventura County. Naval Base Ventura County has an annual economic impact within Ventura County of more than $2 billion and supports a workforce of more than 20,000 direct, indirect, and induced jobs, many of which are residents of the city of Port Hueneme, and many of whom are patrons of Port Hueneme businesses. As the city undertakes an update to the general plan, the housing element, and pursues grant opportunities such as the one before you this evening, the city has an opportunity to help meet the needs of a growing Navy military and civilian workforce, needs for housing and services such as childcare, and to consider updates that implement compatibility strategies of the 2015 Naval Base Ventura County Joint Land Use Study. Availability and affordability of housing is an important component of recruiting and retaining the workforce needed to meet current and future Navy missions. So with that, I want to thank you for your continued partnership with the Navy, and good night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Amanda. I'm going to use some of your information tomorrow. I'll be sitting on a panel addressing housing in Ventura County, and that was not an issue I had on my list, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, any comments, questions before we entertain a motion?
Yes, Amanda, I had been on a committee earlier that said there's a large lack of child care for while the Navy has a child care facility, it's like to the brim right now, and that you're looking for various different opportunities for the people coming from all over the country, but no place for their kids for child care.
Our child care facilities do have lengthy waiting lists, and many of our families, civilian workers at the base also have a need for child care that supports their work with the base. And when that child care can be provided within the communities in which our employees live and and have, if we can make it a more sustainable approach to providing housing and childcare and workforce, and work all within a close area that benefits all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Anybody else? Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
okay. May I have a second?
Second.
And let's take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Rollins,
Yes.
Munoz Schnapp,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Aye.
and Mayor Berg is absent for the record.
Thank you very much. On to the next item, item number 14, approval of a fleet management services agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. You'll recall that at the last council meeting, October 7th, we introduced the concept of this enterprise fleet management fleet replacement program to the council. We didn't seem to have any major resistance or opposition to that. There were a few questions that were asked, and we tried to respond to those, but we figured we would come back, as we had mentioned, for formal approval of this new program tonight. I don't really think, unless we get specific questions, that we need to go into a detailed staff report again. Again, it's basically a way for the city to bring a large outside company in with expertise and resources in fleet management and fleet replacement to help us manage our own fleet better. And I explained last time that it does not involve any outsourcing of jobs. We continue to have our in-house mechanic. Fred still is the in-house manager of the program, but he just has a really experienced, well-known, successful company now helping him with the replacement aspect of our program. And it's a way of keeping our employees in newer, safer vehicles on a more consistent basis, rather than the old pay cash up front, drive them into the ground for 10 or 12 or 15 years. That's it was the old school way of doing it for cities. You paid cash out of your fleet fund, drove vehicles basically into the ground, and the thought was that's the most conservative, fiscally conservative way of using taxpayers' money. What we're learning now that we have more sophisticated ways to really evaluate this is that you're really not being smart financially, because if you replace more regularly, you get more value for those vehicles that you are selling after maybe 5 years, and your employees are in safer vehicles, more technologically advanced vehicles. It's just and the numbers showed, we talked about this last time, if you do a 10-year analysis, it's about $326,000 in savings, so average out about $32,000 a year, rather than the old approach that we were using. So we have we intentionally put them as the last item on the agenda tonight to make sure they were really serious about doing business in Port Hueneme. And my only comment was going to be that our cannabis dispensaries are open until 9. You could have gotten some cannabis products if you wanted, but it's 9 o'clock now, so you're going to,
But you can't try.
Yeah, but no, they made it through, and they're available. We have Tevin Hurd, and I feel like a jerk because I've once again forgotten your name, but his colleague, Laura, that's right, okay. So they're available if you have questions about the program, but really I've tried to find a downside to this, and I really can't. It's a reputable company that does this for a lot of other cities, and it's a way for us to really, bring some expertise into our program and really save money from what the analysis shows at the same time. So with that, we would recommend approval of the program, and we do have a number of agreements that you'll see in the recommendation there for whoever, if the council's desire is to move forward tonight, we would ask that you either say approve the recommendation including these listed documents, or if you want to read those off for us, just to make sure that it's clear that the council is approving those documents as well. And our city attorney team, legal team, has reviewed these documents to make sure that they're kosher for the city. So with that, I'll conclude my report. And again, we do have our representatives from Enterprise here as well.
Okay. As you recall, we did have a presentation from them, and I was very impressed by the information you delivered and your professionalism. But So before we move forward, we have questions. Councilwoman Schnapps, go ahead.
Yes, yes. So, Mr. City Manager, you're saying that you have the documents and you have all approved it because it's not in our packet, correct?
Yeah, and I need to take the public heat for that. Christy was reminding me last week that we needed to get those into the package, and I got out of town Wednesday night without forwarding those to her. So we've had them for probably over 2 months now, and Charlie and his team have reviewed them, but I just didn't forward them to the city clerk in time to get them as part of the package.
Okay.
And if there is a desire from any council members to see those, we can make them available to you.
I don't want to see them. So a couple of questions here is that it would be a 5-year contract? Or what's the contract term?
Not so much a 5-year contract, but the replacement cycle, the standard replacement cycle for the vehicles is a 5-year cycle. That may have been where you saw that. And I don't know if we have is there a fixed term for the agreement, or does it just kind of go until either party terminates?
Yeah, so the master lease agreement is just an overlying agreement for us to be able to do business together, and then the really only commitment is to the individual lease quotes, which are set up on a 5-year term, which the city can early term those at any point in time, with no penalty. You're just responsible for the balance at that point.
Yeah, it's easy to get out of.
It's easy to get out of? Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty easy to break up with.
Okay.
Trust me.
Anybody else? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the agreement and also to include items 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the report?
So move.
The titles read? Do you care?
We don't.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Munoz-Schnapp,
Yes.
Gama,
Yes.
Rollins,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Yes.
Mayor Berg is absent for the record.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you. All right, that comes to the end of our agenda. We have council member reports, comments, and requests for future agenda items. Councilman Rollins, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Probably another things, but for the sake of time, the one thing, the REACH organization, we're going to be looking for a youth high school person to be a part of the board so that we can get the youth input onto the various different things that we're raising money for.
Okay. Councilman Gama?
That's a really great idea, and I would just like to recommend that perhaps the student body president at Hueneme High School might be a good way to go. It's just my view. So, attended the senior prom, and it was such a great event, and it has so much potential for the future that I hope we really take it to, just to the limits of the sky, because my mom in particular, but many other seniors had a wonderful time, and it was really nice to see how into it they were. They were dressed up, some were in black ties, and it was hilarious. The guy was lobbying hard to be the king, and so he collected tickets as people were leaving to give himself a little advantage because it was a random raffle, and he won. So the funny thing about it was he had to sit up there for 45 minutes. And I was telling his wife, he doesn't look too happy up there. But it was really cool. I'm really excited. Also, I met a college student at the museum on one Saturday. And we started talking, and she was telling me about a project she needs to work on. And that Oxnard magazine came out, and I looked at that magazine, I go, we need one of these for Hueneme Beach. Anyways, so I'm working with this college student, and her project is going to be to develop a Hueneme Beach wellness guide. And it's going to be wellness activities that one could do on the beach by themselves. And it'll be, and it has the potential to really, really bring good attention to our beach. 'Cause I'll never forget the tourism guy. He said, dolphins, whales, sunsets, sunrises, and surfing, waves. Those need to be the 5 pillars of marketing. And so the city of Oxnard did a wonderful job with their latest magazine. I don't even know what it's called.
Visit Oxnard? Is that it?
They just put it out, the tourism, but
Yeah,
so
tourism.
anyways, I'm just really excited to be working on that, and then I had to contain myself to share it with y'all. So hopefully if anyone has any ideas for the wellness guide for the city of Port Hueneme, let me know.
Okay. Councilwoman Schnapps.
Yes, so I'll start with Port Hueneme Water Agency. Today we had a meeting, and it included a presentation by United Water Conservation, who is going to be putting together a treatment facility that will then allow us and the other member agencies that receive water from them to receive water without the minerals that we have. And there's 2 of them that are significant enough to then bring down our RO system if we were to move water through it to finally the end user. So the resource is going to be planned at where the water is coming in from in order to feed us and City of Oxnard, and that's a good thing. So we had a presentation by them, and then we also had a facilities condition assessment report, and so we'll be following up with that on a monthly basis as we meet to then further move through the capital improvement program, as well as just the prioritization of the work that needs to be done. And so that was a great meeting that we had today. I want to thank my cohort here, both Councilmember Gamma and Councilmember Rollins, for joining me at the California Joint Powers and Insurance Authority Annual Risk Conference. And we had a great set of speakers that joined us at Indian Wells. Was it last week? It seems like it was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it seems like a long time ago. But we heard, great topics from, we didn't start the fire, extinguishing public entity liability after a fire. We heard about cyber and ransomware exposures, and heard from a city that was hit through the police department, and they received a ransomware email through that, and then you just talk about just how it could really infiltrate a system. So we heard about the do's and don'ts, and knowing that the JPIA actually has people on staff and consultants that'll work alongside organizations when they do get hit. And it's really more of like a person that will walk you through everything that has to happen. It's really kind of a buddy program almost, but that was really good to know. And about law enforcement and leadership and all kinds of really good topics. So yeah, exactly, communication. So thanks for joining me there. Just one more thing here on the library tea. So that happened yesterday, and it seemed like it was a really big fundraiser because boy, oh boy, those raffle tickets were going like hotcakes, right? Mm-hmm. But it was a wonderful tea that's put together by the Friends of the Port Hueneme Library to raise quite a bit of funds. They usually raise over $3,000 with this, and they invest it right back into the services. And so I had a couple of tables. Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez had a really nice table. Councilmember Rollins was there, and his wife actually won one of the awards for setting up a really nice tea table. It was a great 2-hour event. But
she was into Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
she loved it.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast theme. That's right. So thanks everyone for attending that and supporting it. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things, since some of the other events I was going to mention have been covered. I attended the League of California Cities Conference last week and got to attend a presentation on the borderline. It's a rare opportunity to finally hear what happened and how the local departments, law enforcement departments responded, the Sheriff's Department in particular. It's a very good presentation. They did a really professional job in handling that incident. I also attended a session on cannabis, and of course, everybody already knows Chief Salinas there. People came up to me and asked, "Oh, I talked to your chief last week," or "He came down and he spoke to us." So you're a celebrity, Chief. So it was a good conference. Got to connect with some of the other city council members from our county, which is really valuable, just to kind of get to know each other, because we don't often have that opportunity. So it was a good conference, my first one. So I was really happy to be there. The other meeting we had a couple of weeks ago is the City Port Standing Committee. So for our fellow council members here and the rest of you, we did have a meeting. We'll share some of the discussion of that meeting perhaps when the mayor returns, since he was the primary on that. And that's all I have. So with that, I'd like to, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot something that's really important to me. This past weekend, I attended a fundraiser for the Young and Brave Foundation, which is put on by a couple local professional surfers from Silver Strand, and we did it over at Hollywood Beach, and we raised close to $10,000 for kids battling cancer. And so hats off to the Curran brothers. These guys are great ambassadors to help young children with cancer, and I was really honored for the second year to be a part of that effort.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to go into public comment continuation. Are there any public comments, any speakers from the audience? Okay, I have no cards up here, so I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting to our regular meeting of November 4th, 2019, which will begin at 6:30 p.m. in this City Hall Council chamber. And at this time, it is 9:14, and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.